better feeling than having beaten 155 of your peers. It's that feeling of success, that feeling of you're first. I stay focused thinking it's a life lesson and the competition is very, very good. The weak ones don't survive. Or within any business, if you come out on top, the feeling is beyond what I can tell. So that's what I play for. That's the feeling I play for. That's why I'm here.
The largest equity investor in emerging markets. Emerging market experts, Mirae Asset.
Standard Chartered Bank presents the Rates and FX Update. Turn more currencies in your favor with Standard Chartered Bank.
Bloomberg Television, the source.
Okay, we are in the money in the Asia Pac to kick off the work week. For how long, nobody knows how long it's going to last. It never does. And finally, Obama says more aggressive steps needed to tame the ongoing crisis. As a matter of fact, he just engaged in the most extensive sit-down one-on-one since his election as president-elect a number of weeks ago. Interestingly, when it comes to the current financial crisis, he says even with the, he highlights that even with the prospect of the federal budget gap approaching $1 trillion, he said you can't worry short-term about the deficit. You got to make sure stimulus is large enough to get the economy going. So it goes back to that old argument, deficits don't matter. Remember during the Reagan era, I think it was first raised? Stephen Nash, Managing Director of Merriman Curran Ford, joins us today. Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Likewise.
Just got off the plane?
I did.
It must be empty. Is it pretty empty or is it pretty packed?
You know, it's kind of 50-50, so pretty empty. Pretty
Really?
empty lately.
Yeah, I guess not a lot of leisure travel, and people, what they're doing is canceling a lot of flights, so they're packing like 3 or 4 code shares into one plane.
That's true.
So you get screaming lunatics in business
And babies
class.
crying. Yeah.
Babies crying. Yeah. Well, you know, they're human beings too. Let's talk a little bit about this. Deficits don't matter. You're not old enough to remember during the Reagan era, or are you?
Oh, well, you know, I was growing up then, but yeah.
Do deficits matter? I guess they don't matter right now, do they?
Not right now. I mean, arguably this, $700 billion that he's talking about injecting isn't going to be enough. I mean, I think he should do $1 to $2 trillion. I mean, if they really don't matter, you know, put some real stimulus in. So,
But does stimulus do the trick anymore? Because people are expecting X amount, so you kind of raise the bar. It's like only a X number of hundreds of billions of dollars will actually keep the mood from getting worse. You know, what I mean? I mean, you're not starting from base, you're from ground zero anymore in this sense.
I think stimulus packages matter. I mean, you know, the $600 check that every American got earlier this year. I mean, they went out and spent it, but you know,
it's gone just
it's
like
still
that.
Nice to have.
Yeah.
But you know, we'll see if it has any meaningful long-term effect on the economy. We need just about anything right now.
You know, all these tens of billions of dollars they're talking about in bailout money for Detroit. I've been getting a bunch of emails on my Voices talk show saying, why doesn't the government use that 30 whatever billion and buy up all the cars?
Exactly, they could.
Hand them out, get rid of the old clunkers that are spewing all kinds of
they could with
sulfuric dioxide and all that stuff, and you've cleaned up the environment and you've stimulated the economy at the same time. That sounds, I don't know. It sounds really, really out of Hollywood, doesn't it?
Yep.
What's going on in your space? Because obviously you're in the business of seeing over companies migrating to the OTCQX market.
Yes, which is a new market in the U.S. that enables exchange-listed companies in Asia and Australia to achieve a secondary listing in the U.S. So the market this year has picked up about $52 billion in new listings.
52 billion in new listings.
52 billion in new listings.
How many new listings? I'm just getting a ballpark.
This year it's been about 25 new companies that have listed on the market.
Companies like what? Give me one name that everybody will know.
Roche.
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 The
BG
drug maker?
Group. Yes, the drug maker.
Switzerland?
Yes.
Okay.
BG Group.
BG?
Air
Gas?
France, British Gas, exactly.
Uh-huh.
Air France delisted off the New York Stock Exchange, listed on the OTCQX, saves $10 million annually in expense because it did this. It had very minimal effect on its actual trading volume.
But wait a minute, I mean that's a national carrier. They're not exactly the healthiest company around.
No.
So delisting from the big board to the OTC pink sheet. It's not called pink sheets anymore.
It's called OTCQX.
QX. Okay.
Right.
QX meaning.
Quality and excellence on the over-the-counter
whatever.
market.
Okay. But I mean, that's kind of a capitulation. It's like they don't get an NYSE listing under AF or whatever their ticker symbol was.
Well, but they're saving money and they're retaining the majority of their trading volume. And for these large companies that aren't going to be out actively raising capital in the U.S., they may not need a full-bore listing on a traditional U.S.
But
exchange.
they need to maintain a listing because
U.S. investors need a mechanism to trade their stock in the U.S. market, real time. So companies like Imperial Tobacco done the same thing, now saving in excess of $10 million.
How many listings are there on the QX?
Now there are 45.
45. Is it okay? Would it be fair to say that moving from a bigger exchange to the QX is a capitulation? Is a surrender of?
I wouldn't say it's a surrender. It's actually moving from New York Stock Exchange to the traditional pink sheets may be a capitulation, and you've seen those stocks, the trading volume come down about to 40% of what it was on New York Stock Exchange. But if you take in group the aggregate of all the companies that have moved from the New York Stock Exchange to to OTCQX, they've retained about 77% of their trading volume. Right. So they keep a message in the U.S. market that they actually care about their U.S. investors and their listing and their presence there without moving off to the pink sheet market. So it's a way for them to retain.
Let me ask you this: you look at a number of Asian markets, and everybody's bombed out to one degree or another. Are you actually getting companies who would otherwise just be roping themselves off, trying to, nail down the hatches for the next 2 or 3 years, saying, "Talk to me,
Yes.
Stephen. At a time like this, what I need is liquidity because everything has dried up to Sahara dry standards. I'm not getting liquidity locally. Therefore, I'd be interested in actually not migrating, but actually having another listing on the QX."
And that's the majority of the conversations that I'm having today.
That's why you're here.
Exactly.
That's why I'm teasing you here.
You have so much capital on the sidelines now, and arguably the U.S. market is going to recover before Asia does. So take advantage of the time now and get in front of U.S. investors through a secondary listing on the OTCQX.
What are we looking at here? BNY Mellon, Bank of New
So
York?
here's what you see is that companies with an ADR in Taiwan actually outperform in aggregate the overall Taiwan index. So it actually shows that the companies that do have an ADR or second market presence are outperforming companies that otherwise just have one market listing.
Okay.
So this can be an effective way to significantly increase your liquidity globally by listing on an alternative market now, setting yourself up for a return to capital raising environment, which may happen second half of next year. So lay the foundation now for markets to come back in 09.
I read you. So basically line up your bets, get your bets right, wait for that liquidity to really pop and start exciting people. You have the exposure, you'll get the money flowing through, and that's a good thing. And liquidity does matter.
Exactly, it does matter.
Okay, good talking to you, Steve.
Likewise.
So deficits don't matter, but liquidity does matter. Remember that, rule number 1. You learn something new every day here on Bloomberg Live. Most of it useless, but you learn.